Welcome back to the workshop, everybody. So glad you could be with me here today. Walter here at the workbench. So you remember the other day I mentioned about tapping out this blade and that I would explain it? Well, here's the explanation. Just showing off a little bit here. Hope you don't mind. I just love doing this. Alright. So basically, if you have bought an old plane, a new plane, a replacement blade from any company, you will, and here's two that I had that were new old stock. One is a Stanley and the other is a generic. They were brand new, and as you can see, when I went to flatten the backs, they had a hollow here and here. That happens, and that is not a bad thing as long as you can get that front straight edge honed flat. So what did I do to this one? Well, let's pop the hood and find out. What I did with this one, when I took it to the stone, I noticed that it had a belly right about here, and it was hitting a little bit over here and a little bit over here. But on an angle from here to here, it wasn't hitting. Now, these blades are thin. This one is a laminated steel blade. We talked about that. What a laminated steel blade is, a piece of hardened steel, and you can see the color difference, but right here, you can see that color difference. There's a piece of hardened steel, high carbon steel, forge welded to the lower carbon steel in the back before they machine and grind and harden the blade. What that does, it's like in the Japanese tools. It puts a harder edge where you need it and a less harder metal where you don't need it. So what happens if you buy a new blade and you have a belly? If it's a thicker blade, you can take all the time you want and flatten that back. Just grind it away, okay? Do not do this, and this is my disclaimer, do not do this to any new blade from any new manufacturer. If you get a blade that's all boogered up from a high-end maker, send it back. If you get one with a huge belly here that you can't flatten out in a few minutes, don't panic. You can use the ruler technique to just lift up the back of the blade slightly so that you can get the flat, sharp area up front. Subsequent sharpenings, subsequent flattenings will slowly make the back flatter and flatter, and you'll be fine. Unless you want to pay $100 for a replacement blade, no manufacturer is going to put them on surface grinders and guarantee them to be 100% flat. Not even a Lee Nielsen, a Clifton, a Veritas, any of those will be 100% flat on the back, guaranteed all the time. You may have gotten one where you take it out of the package, put it on your stone, and it's flat. That's the goal of the manufacturing process, but sometimes it's not perfect. So, that's enough of that. So what did I do? How did I go from having a belly, how did I go from having that belly right here to having a little bit of a hollow and getting that edge straight? I use Thor. You take a flat surface, it can be pine, it can be, I used MDF because I had a few things I needed to tap out. The blade was bent, so I needed to tap out the bend from the back section here, where the soft steel is, so that it would be straight this way, okay, from front to back. But up here, and this is risky business, people, you can ruin a blade. It's a knife making technique. It's actually from sword making. They have a flat steel anvil and they'll take their hammers and they'll tap on their swords and they'll tap on knives to get them straight. All right? But you tap it wrong, you break it because it's hardened steel. So I lay it down. I tap out all my bends and my deformation so that the blade is now flat. Up here, where the belly was, I use the nylon side and I strike it medium to light first, and then I check to see if it's flat. Strike it again, test to see if it's flat, and I'll move wherever I need to move to try to get this corner to bend up without cracking it. Am I clear about this? This is not something you just go and do. Excuse me. You have to have almost no other way to get your cutting edge in order to resort to this. All right. Excuse me. Almost everybody has learned about the ruler technique. David Charlesworth made it possible, or popular at least. When you're sharpening, and I'm just going to let the blade edge hang over here because I don't want to muck up the blade edge. You place your ruler down on your sharpening stone on the one edge. And then when you press down here and press down here, you've got a very, very, very slight angle upwards. And that creates a microscopic bevel on the back, and that's what gets you your straight edge really quick. So if you get a brand new blade and it's not, it has a little belly here, or it's got a hollow and you don't want to spend time flattening, there's no need to flatten. Just use the ruler technique, pop it up, and sharpen only that front edge. But on old, badly mistreated or badly pitted, this one also has some pits up in the corner here. You got to grind past them. What I do is I extend my ruler trick up a little bit more. I'll use some other piece of wood of whatever thickness I need, and I'll only increase that a little bit at a time until I get my straight edge across the back. This one has maybe about 1 degree of back bevel, maybe 1 degree. And that's it, folks. That's what I meant about tapping out the blade. Sometimes it's only to get the blade straight from front to back on both sides so that it will actually mate up with the chip breaker properly, because you want it to mate up properly. And when you tighten the chip breaker, you don't want the whole assembly to be bent in any way. I don't know if that's clear. You don't want the assembly to be massively bent. Okay? It can have a slight hollow on this side, because when you put it down on the frog and you bring the lever cap in and presses down, and it's pressing down in the front and it's pressing down in the back, you're on the frog. But if it's severely cupped or bowed, it's not going to mate well with your plane. So that's it, everybody. That's what I meant about tapping it out. And if you want, find yourself a plain blade set that's virtually trash. And if you try it out, you will, I got this on there. Gotta make sure your lever, your lateral adjuster is in the slot. Otherwise you go to put this down and it doesn't snap down. I'm still always amazed every time I take a plane apart and put it back together, sharpen, just daily use. I'm still amazed at the Bailey design. How it is the sum of all the parts that make it perfect. All right? Now, while I got you here, I'll just go over how to set up a plane after you've changed the blade, real quick. How you can almost do it with your eyes closed. And your wood doesn't need to be this long, it can be shorter. It's just what I have handy. You put it in, you start in the center of the plane, and you take a cut. Now, that's a beautiful cut. I could just walk away, but I want to see if that blade is in there square. So I go to the right, check the cut, I go to the left, and did you hear that? Listen again, right, left. This one's louder, okay? So this side is thicker. So that means you have to press your lateral adjuster over towards the thicker cut. But because it's so minimal, I sometimes just tap it. See that? That was just a tap. And then you do that a few times. Still a little thick. Let's try pulling it. You can overshoot it. That's why it's... There we go. Listen very carefully. Virtually the same sound. Then you try the middle. That plane's set. Okay? And like I say, some guys use little tiny pieces of wood to test that. Some people will just use a corner of a piece to test it. I just find it just as quick. Do it this way, and I can be working on the work that I'm using and planing away some of the wood that would normally get planed away anyway. So there you have it, everybody. My explanation on how I tap out and flatten a blade, and how I don't recommend it. I don't know, is that like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times I've said this? I don't know, I've lost track. You are responsible for your tools and your safety in your workshop. Not me. But people asked me what I meant by tapping it out, so I thought I'd explain. If you found this educational or entertaining, maybe useful, give it the old thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe. I think it's up there somewhere. Maybe it's up there. And share the video with other people. And head out to your shop. Go make some shavings. Walter out.